Hi there. All right. So first, I want to discuss the superficial back line. Now, the superficial back line, it supports and protects the posterior portion of the body. It is it prevents our body from curling over. It supports us in full upright extension. This is sort of an all-day postural function, which is mostly comprised of slow twitch muscle fibers. Now, as far as the location, the superficial back line, it starts at the toes and runs under the bottom of the foot, up the back of the leg, up the back, and connects all the way up at the brow at the top of the head. It also is split into two portions, running from the toes to the knees, and then from the knees to the top of the head. And it is also split into a left and a right. Okay, now the next line that I will talk about is the superficial front line. Now, the superficial front line connects and protects the anterior portion of the body. Now, it offers tensile support from above to the pubis, rib cage, and face, which are extended out above the gravity line. It is also involved in the flexion of the trunk and hips, extension at the knee, and the dorsiflexion of the foot, and it is also mainly comprised of fast twitch muscles as opposed to the slow twitch that were associated with the back line. It also is effectively balancing out the superficial back line by having a superficial front line. It balances the back line as well. Now for the superficial front line, it begins also at the toes, but runs up the top of the foot, up the front of the body, up here, and then it connects around into the base of the skull again. Now, the next one I'd like to talk about is the lateral line. Now, lateral lines are mainly for balancing the front and back and your left and right bilaterally. It stabilizes our trunk and our legs to prevent us from buckling, and it mediates the forces among the superficial front line, superficial back line, all of the arm lines, and the spiral lines. Now, its location, it begins at the outside of the foot, middle of the foot, runs up the lateral portion of the leg, along the trunk, and under the shoulder to the skull area of the ear. Now it weaves its way through the trunk and then goes under the shoulders and connects to the skull by the area of the ear. Other functions of this are it allows us to laterally flex our trunk, abduct our hips, and a reversion of our feet. It also has the ability to act as an adjustable brake for all of our lateral and rotational movements. Now, the final lines that I'm going to be speaking about is the spiral line. Now, a spiral line maintains balance across all of our planes. It creates a compensation for twists, lateral shifts, and rotations. It also accounts for eccentric and isometric contractions. Now, its location, which is a little bit tricky to follow, at least I found it tricky to follow, it's basically two loops. And these loops, well, they start at the base of the skull, they come across the back. One loop will cut across the rib cage and down the side of the leg, loop under the arch of the foot, come back up along the back, and connect again at the opposite side of the skull. Now there are those two loops. They're basically working against each other. They're opposing forces in those loops. They're opposing circles. And it's basically a left and a right joining each side. It creates a lot of compensation for those twists and lateral shifts and rotations, like I said before. Now, for the last point, to talk about what is unique about front and back functional lines, is that they are mostly employed in athletic movements and are the ones least used in standing posture. Those were the big unique points that I came across from those two. And that is my presentation on myofascial lines. Thank you.